This is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain and Market Rebellion is strictly for educational and informational purposes only. Absolutely none of this is investment advice, and it should not be construed as such.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode.
Friday!
First in the cold, but he smacked it out of the park. It is Friday, Ryan. Super excited it's Friday. Even though crypto never sleeps, we have to keep a Friday going.
Yeah,
you know?
gotta have Friday though. Gotta have Friday. We celebrate it, so it's a psychological thing, right? Like you get through the week, you have Friday, and it's something. Yeah, it's hard to let go of.
If life was a perpetual derivatives option in crypto, we would burn out. So you got to have those bookends ready. But folks, thank you for joining us. It is July 30th. We are wrapping up the month, and if you believe anything we say, which you probably shouldn't, that means we're like the halfway mark through summer, man. And you know what that means? I'm looking forward to that bullish run again.
Yeah, it's ever closer. Each day we creep closer to the end of the summer. We creep closer to that potential bull run.
Yes, so it's good news. Good news. Look, CJ's smiling. Did
you eat today, CJ?
I did.
I noticed the difference.
He has color back. But folks, we're going to hit a few things. One, as you saw in the thumbnail, there was a large, rapid decline in Bitcoin price action early this morning, Eastern Standard Time, before most of you woke up. And we're going to explain exactly what that was and if that will have a long-term ripple effect to the market. We're also going to present, and you may have heard us talk about this in the past. CJ brought this project to everyone's attention called Chia Network, ticker XTH. Well, he has a few words to talk about it, and that'll be exciting. So we're going to do that. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the Department of Justice, one of those famed three-initialed agencies, and what exactly they're doing, because quite frankly, they're a little bit more mainstream crypto than a lot of other organizations out there. So we're going to tell you why. First, I do want to bring a little PSA for Trade the Chain members, if I may. And this is from our AMA we did earlier today. And what that PSA is if you look at the screen when you log in to Trade the Chain, obviously you see this little banner up here called Send Token Airdrop. There may have been when you hit the KYC submission link, there may have not been shown or displayed a wallet submission address. So there is one here now. And if you submitted your KYC for the Trade the Chain airdrop as an eligible member, please go back into this page and submit your wallet. We will automatically know which account it gets sent from, because it'll register that because you've already logged into your account to submit it. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. And without further ado, Mr. DJ CJ, if you could kindly hit the big boards.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that, sadly enough. But let's start here by, I just really want to share this S&P 500 chart because I think it's super cool. And I think that it might ease your concerns about a potential massive correction in the stock market. There was a lot of news that, they're not going to increase rates. I don't think tapering is going to stop anytime soon. Many individuals have compared our current circumstances in the Dow and somewhat the S&P to 1929 and the depression following afterwards. Personally, I don't really. I think there's a stronger case to be made for the bullish side of the S&P, following a cycle that was much more similar to the 90s. Ever since 1987. Individuals were really scared during this entire run up, and, they thought this area would probably end up being some type of top, similar to what we're feeling now, I think. But if you extrapolate this second move up, it heads the S&P to about, 9K by 2024. And of course, this is the monthly chart, and it's not like we're just going to go there in a straight line. We can go there a variety of ways. But overall, I think this is something definitely to watch going into the future, and a nice comparable chart that I like on the stock market. And that makes me feel a little bit more relaxed when thinking about Bitcoin and the overall stock to flow ratio. We've often talked many times on this show about like how existential threat a stock market crash could be on Bitcoin. Also, on a side note that has to do with the S&P, the DXY has been falling and has had a pretty bearish overall sentiment and like posture within the last couple of days. And of course, that's going to help risk on assets. It's also going to help hard assets like Bitcoin. So maybe watch for that macro trend as well coming up in the near term future. But like what we've discussed on Bitcoin so much this week, we talk about that regression to the moving average. We talk about those red candles following the 9 and then a potential swing higher. I'm still of that opinion that we'll see something like this with a new confirmed higher low in the trend. Now, let's go to the reason why we dropped, or I guess an explanation of why we dropped. We have 1.6 billion in monthly options expirations expire this morning at roughly 4 a.m. Eastern time on Deribit, where the majority of those expired. So 41,000 in total, 22,000 were calls. And when you have max pain at a particular point, sometimes institutions who use Bitcoin options to hedge will try to push prices kind of closer to that max pain point to limit their losses. This is called like pinning. And there's other kind of concepts you can read about of how expiration and options can actually affect asset prices, even though options are derivatives. And, it's a pretty interesting effect there. So as a result of that max pain being at 35K, I don't think we're going to go below there in the near future. And now that those options have expired, there's not really a reason for institutions to try and push the price any lower. I think they kind of did that and made their points earlier this morning before options expired. So that's kind of interesting as well in terms of market dynamics. Last thing I want to hit on is something very interesting and something that's been raising my eyebrows a little bit in the last couple of days here, and that is the Google Trends for the word Bitcoin across the world. Now, of course, we're looking at the past 5 years here. We can see the massive spike in 2018 and kind of our other following peaks earlier in the spring. But if we go and zoom in to just 12 months, we can really see a nice lagging indicator in the Google search trends. Now, let's keep in mind, this is a lagging indicator, but it's looking very interesting nonetheless. And I think people are starting to get more and more excited about the cryptocurrency market collectively.
CJ, quick question for you about not hitting that max pain point at 35K. Would you consider that an indication of strength in the market and of there being solid support above 35K, or is something else at play there?
Like the fact we haven't gone to 35K?
Correct. Yeah, that we bottomed out at like 38.5 more or less.
Yeah, I interpret that as resilience and strength.
All right. Very cool. Thank you, by the way, for that explanation. As always, folks, we always mention the expiries. They are one of the indicators for you to take a look at on a month-over-month basis when it comes to what the sentiment of Bitcoin is and what the traders are feeling is the next move, whether it's up or down. With that being said, Bill Parker kind of says it all. Chia. Let's go. Bring us more tidbits on the Chia network, ticker XCH, and the project that's going on.
All right, let me preface this like Rob from Digital Asset News. I do not shill projects unless I truly believe in them and am personally invested in them heavily. We did that earlier on with Voyager before it hit $7. That was a nice pattern. Same thing with StormX earlier on in the bull cycle when it went to 8 cents. But I see a new one now that kind of checks all the boxes on my lists. The first one that I want to make a point of, and this goes back to Rob's point as well, is betting on people. So when you look at the people who are creating the Chia project, it's Bram Cohen, who's the creator of BitTorrent, and make sure that you understand the distinction that BitTorrent is not BTT. It is not what Tron bought. It is a protocol that is decentralized peer-to-peer file sharing network that Bram Cohen created and invented the concept of torrenting in 2001. And you can go and install their blockchain. Instead of mining, you are allocating space to the network, and you become a farmer and are rewarded in Chia that way. And so the whole point and value proposition is that it is a energy efficient Bitcoin because it runs on a more efficient consensus mechanism known as proof of space. So aside from proving work, like what you do in Bitcoin and Litecoin and other proof of work networks, you're validating work essentially by proving that you have certain space, because space is already kind of a wasted resource. A lot of consumers have a lot of space in their data. And yeah, there you go. Naval Ravikant is also an investor in it. He basically paid $3.3 million along with Andreessen Horowitz in 2018 to allow Bram Cohen to develop this protocol and bring in a team on it. And they've done a really great job doing it thus far. And if you don't know much about Andreessen Horowitz, they are literally the best venture capitalists in the world. If you look at Mark Andreessen's personal VC exit ratio, it's 73%. And I think if you look at any investor, any VC investor with more than 20 investments, he's number one when it comes to investing in profitable startups. And so the fact that they're in Chia, the fact that Bram Cohen is in Chia, that's also already very promising and enough for me to take a look at things. Now, let's talk about the value proposition for a second, because we talk about ESG concerns. We talk about Elon Musk bringing up ESG concerns in Bitcoin. Whether or not you think that they're justified or not justified, I think that retail will gravitate towards a narrative of someone building an energy efficient blockchain, and someone with the background and credentials like Bram, I think is incredibly promising. The third component, and after this, I'll open it up to kind of questions, you guys, is they have a company backing. And so one of the real reasons why I think Voyager and specifically VGX was so successful earlier on in the run-up was because it had a public company backing it. It had transparency and legitimacy in the public sector. And Chia actually plans to do an IPO by the end of this year. Their CFO was the CFO of Overstock, Razer, a couple other tech companies as well. But he's taken over 5 tech corporations public in his day. So when you have a group of board members on Chia like that who have been successful in the past and who have done it before, it seems like a very promising project. And Alex, I want to touch on the chart right there, because this project was incredibly unlucky. And if you can zoom back to the beginning, that would be great too. So this project launched on it launched on OKX literally at peak FOMO. It launched in May, right after Bitcoin was creating its lower high, and then fell from the 60,000s. So Chia really trended hard during that market cycle, but as you can see, it was unlucky in the sense that it launched essentially at peak FOMO. So now what's interesting to see is that we're actually seeing buyer volume come in. We actually saw this thing do 40 million in 24-hour volume yesterday. And that's a lot of volume for an asset that only has a market cap of about $100 to $200 million. Most assets that have $100 to $200 million market caps are doing like 5 million or 10 million.
Why do you think the trading volume in Chia is higher than similarly valued assets?
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what shows you or tells you, hey, maybe there's something going on here behind the scenes. Maybe larger players are looking at this project and looking at the individuals involved in this project and beginning to scale in and place their bets before another leg up in Bitcoin. At least that's what I've been doing personally. But yeah, I was happy to see that this was up this morning as a result of that. But that's a lot to unpack. Any questions or anything else you guys want to kind of discuss? I'm the Chia shill now. I can't.
I think it's an interesting project. I think it's interesting that I really didn't know about this back in 2018. I guess it was pretty under the radar, but the investors and the team are pretty significant. So, I mean, and talk about bad timing on a launch. That's crazy. I mean, this was at $1,600 at one point.
On OKX, it was 2,600, I believe. On
Wow.
But the majority was like 1,600, like you said.
Why do you think potentially that this project, in terms of overall value, fell so much more on a percentage basis than others did, if there's so much good going on here?
I think it just goes back to the bad timing part. It's very difficult for there you go, Bill Parker. Is that Chia Pet Hero?
Yeah.
Nice.
Your newly minted Chia Pet Hero.
Yeah, so I just think it has to do with bad market timing. There was a lot of, the total supply is about 22 million, but the circulating supply was only about 1.5 million. And so when you start with a very low circulating supply like that, and you have a ton of euphoria coming into the market all at once, I think it's really difficult for market participants to be able to accurately value something at that point. It's kind of like an IPO, right? We don't really know what its true value is. And I just think it was really overvalued, and it had a bad timing with kind of unique FOMO. I wouldn't say it came down any more than other projects, but it is down like 90% since it's high.
It's pretty dramatic.
Here's a good question from our friend Rick Latona. Do you know about staking options?
I have not found anywhere to do it. This is not an ERC20 token. It is its own chain. There's Chia farming, and last time I tried to farm, there were not even pools yet. So that makes it very difficult to get consistent block rewards. Mm-hmm. So it's very early on, but I do think there's a lot of potential based on the people involved. But yeah, unfortunately, no really real way to get yield right now off of this project.
Well, no opportunity for passive income, which is what a lot of people are doing, searching obviously for yield during these range-bound markets. Well, I was just about to mention this in passing, okay, when you commented on this. It was the original title of the show. I took it down. I didn't want to dig too deep into it, but just to give everybody a sense of what happened yesterday, if you didn't know, Robinhood went public. Okay. And it was a big deal. I also think if what happened with GME and AMC and stuff didn't, and what occurred afterwards hadn't happened, it would have been even a bigger deal. But Robinhood went public yesterday, and their IPO was the worst ever performance in history of one of that size. And that came out of
I mean, they allocated like a third of the shares to Robinhood users, who, of course, are just going to sell the minute they get the shares. Of course, it was going to tank.
Robinhood users wanted nothing to do with this thing. You're absolutely right, man. They quoted Robinhood users as going, "We don't care. It's just we don't want it. We don't want to participate." So. CJ, any thoughts on that flop of an IPO? And by the way, I say flop. They raised $2 billion, all right? So there's a lot of rich people walking away from it.
Facebook also raised billions, and that IPO tanked as well, right? You rode that dog down for a while.
I'm still riding that dog down. I'm with the fleas on that one.
So if you take all of the IPOs throughout history, whether it be Uber and Lyft, because those are the two others that were the worst first day performing IPOs of their size, Robinhood has actually created a new record in the sense that they have the worst performing IPO of their size ever. But I mean, it's only the first day, give it time. That's typically how IPOs go. I mean, I can think of a few other IPOs that didn't go off the bat too well, but then flourished into really great companies. I agree. It breaks my heart as well that Cathie Wood bought Robinhood, but let's remember, investing is not about necessarily morality. It's more about just making money. So that's obviously what she's trying to do. I'm not buying Robinhood or investing in it. I don't care about them. I think there's better opportunities. If I can short them, I would love to do that just out of principle, but I don't want to mix emotions and petty feelings into my financial decisions. So that's what I'll.
Well, George brings up one good comment before I move ahead. And George, I think I can answer this without CJ's input. How big does he think it's going to get? How about this big? Look at that. All right.
It's only a matter of time, Alex. You couldn't get through the whole episode without it.
George, we're gonna have CJ keep us updated on the project. This is just the beginning. Obviously, when we bring them in, we start covering them. We learn more, run some analytics, get some sentiment, and figure out how that'll go. So it'll be a repetitive update that we'll do. But
whoa. Sorry to interrupt. But I'll just say I do think this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar protocol, and that would extrapolate price to tens of thousands, like at least over 10K. So
in what time frame?
Based on the mining schedule or the farming reward schedule, end of year. And these moves aren't, and these moves aren't unjustifiable necessarily. Like VGX did 5,000 to 9,000% in a very short period of time. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So one thing I wanted to go back to that you mentioned, CJ, that you're not going to mix emotion with investing and shorting Robinhood. The one problem, because I see a lot of people saying how they would want to short Robinhood as well. The one problem is if Wall Street Bets decides that that's their stock of the week, it's you're going to get your face ripped off if you short that, because if it becomes another meme stock and they just said, well, a lot of us are using Robinhood to invest anyway, let's have some fun with the stock, you could have a serious problem if you get a margin call on that. I wouldn't short Robinhood at all. It's not the stock to short, even if it goes down to like $10 a share. Like I just wouldn't do it.
Well, yeah, there's no puts on it either. Like you're gonna short something, buy puts on it. You're not gonna get your face ripped off, even if you're wrong. And you'll have proper risk management, even if you're wrong. So.
But a lot of the people who are out there shorting stock right now, they don't understand how to use options and they don't understand how to get that insurance policy. And that's why so many of them got margin calls and lost everything during the last run. You have a lot of.
I disagree. I think retail investors are a lot more sophisticated than many like to believe. And I don't like how Jim Cramer and Josh Brown just blanket, the Robinhood traders as these dumb retail gamblers. They know what they're doing, in many cases. And in many cases they don't, Ryan. So I'll give you that as well. But
all right. Moving on. The Feds are becoming some of the largest bag holders of crypto in the world. And what makes this interesting is the fact that they have gone ahead and awarded Anchorage Digital the contract for not only being their custodian of choice, but also their liquidating execution venue of choice. What makes this interesting, and I was saying this in the comments to CJ and Ryan before the show, is the fact that the Feds are more mainstream than most other businesses and corporations. I mean, literally, as far as an organization is concerned, the Feds are setting up their own infrastructure. And what makes it more interesting is how much crypto they own. Just in June, the DOJ seized about 2.3 million worth of Bitcoin that the FBI obtained from tracking the movements of that Colonial Pipeline cyber attack that we all read. That is a drop in the bucket for what they've collected over the years. So the fact that they have essentially a custodian and a broker to liquidate their coins, their massive trove of coins, just interesting.
I'm surprised though, right? Like good for Diogo and Anchorage for getting that contract. That's massive. And that's a massive bit of business for them, especially with like the $1 billion they took from Silk Road creator Ross Ulbricht in crypto. I'm just wondering why they wouldn't go with like a BNY Mellon or something like that who's setting up that infrastructure.
You want to know why? Because Anchorage Digital, which is based in San Fran, the first federally chartered bank for crypto.
But they're already chartered banks, right? And they're doing some form of custody for crypto.
But no execution for liquidation. Now it's all in one spot.
That's fair. I wonder how long they keep that contract though when State Street ramps up their aspirations and their trading venue that they're backing along with like Bank of America and BNY Mellon goes online later this year and they can custody and execute, right? Like, I mean, It makes sense that they'd go with a crypto native firm, but before long, they're going to go with an old reliable, right? The federal government and BNY Mellon work a lot of times hand in hand. I had to have security clearance when I worked at BNY Mellon. So
I think it's interesting though, Ryan, is the fact that here we are talking about regulation and it's squeezing in and the Senate hearings and Senator Warren and all this stuff. Yet the DOJ is going out there and making themselves a legit crypto firm. Not joking around. It's funny.
I mean, yeah, they're setting up an infrastructure similar to what a hedge fund would do.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. It just shows a better understanding of it, I think, than a lot of people realize the federal government has, right? Especially after all the thought that was put into some of the crypto legislation that was included in the infrastructure bill. Some of it seems ham-fisted, but other parts of it are really well thought out and they make a lot of sense and they've put some time into it. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. It didn't just materialize or manifest itself, right? So, the government is putting a lot of thought into how they want to handle and regulate crypto, and it probably is only a matter of time until we have, more clarity and, the institutions are better able to understand what they can or can't do. And once that occurs, they start ramping up their efforts, and I would see them start to work. I'd be surprised if they didn't start to work more hand in hand with the government on efforts like this, because the government uses auction houses and other financial institutions to liquidate other things that they seize. So why wouldn't they use them for this eventually?
CJ, besides being called the king of the Chia, is there anything you'd like to add to this article?
No. Kind of makes me think about all the cool cars that the FBI probably seizes from cartel members and things of that sort. But no, nothing really of context I have to add to this. No.
I wonder if they've seized any crypto from cartels. Because people are always saying that cartels use crypto, but we've never heard about them seizing it from cartels.
I don't know.
Haven't you seen No Country for Old Men? I mean, they just use bags at $2 million.
I love that movie. That's such a good movie.
All right, listen. Let's give some people the inside track on what's going on today before we head out for the weekend. The beach, the fun, the sun, the carnivals, the hot dogs, which are a sandwich, and the cheeseburgers. Here we're looking at the market. It's doing, listen, the 1 hour change. There's plenty of green. Look at the 1 hour price charts, plenty of green. For any of those short-term people, here's the 1 hour projection. This is interesting. At the top of the 1 hour projection for price increase, it looks like we have Bitcoin Cash ABC. Well, there's a new one, 19%. Projected to the upside with only with 8% to the bottom side.
What even is Bitcoin Cash ABC?
It's one of the four. Remember, we were on with Roger Ver last fall, and he explained the whole fork that was going on. Yeah, so ABC is one of the forks from BCH last November.
Gotcha.
We got Loom Network projected 1 hour 25%, projected bottom negative 15%. We got Perp. We have Keep Network, Harvest Finance, Harmony, which a lot of people are like, Travala, and Curve. Look at this outlier right here. We have Bitcoin Cash ABC relative trading volume up 2,300%. Unbelievable. A couple other outliers are Loom Network up.
Dude, it's up 47% over the past 24 hours. Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that thing is
ripping.
Harvest Finance 1,870% increase in relative trading volume. Wow. Look at these numbers, 132% over the last 24 hours. And the 1 hour projection is still showing 20% to the upside here.
That's incredible.
Wow, Harvest is ripping. That's incredible. These are numbers that are crazy. The daily sentiment right here, score of 91 on the
That's
trading
very bullish
board.
for those of you keeping score at home.
I have to hang up now and go pay attention back to the dashboard.
FOMO into farm.
All right, very cool. I'm really glad everybody joined us. Thank you so much for watching us. Happy Friday again. Have a great weekend. Don't get into any jet ski accidents. Hang on to your handlebars. And listen, we're all happy the market's going up. So till Monday.
Love you all.